Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Kennedy Edufa, the Operations Lead of Techshelta Company Limited. I welcome you to our monthly teaching series. This month, we are going to talk to you about the misconception about greenhouse farming. We are going to talk about the myth, the pain, and the rewards. Gifty.
Hello everyone, my name is Gifty Minta Kwashi. I am the lead of administration at Techshelta. At Techshelta, we help greenhouse farmers to maximize their efficiency. We provide various services in the greenhouse space through advisory, automation, market linkages, and training. Ladies and gentlemen, for more information, just log on to our website, www.techshelter.com, or visit our social media platform at Techshelter for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Thank you.
Sit, relax, and watch our colleagues, Bob and Paul, delve deep into the myth, the pain, and the rewards of greenhouse farming. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you, wherever you are across the world. Thank you for allowing us into your homes today, in your offices, or wherever you may find yourself. It's an opportunity to come to you today with our virtual fireside chat today. Our focus is to demystify the greenhouse farming process. So we'll be looking at the myth, the pain, and the rewards. Exactly what we're going to do. It's a chart. So don't think we're going to go through a conventional 1, 2, 3.5. Nope. But also note that whilst we are on this chart, you have the opportunity to post your questions on the chat side of this particular connection or this particular conversation. So please quickly go ahead and start posting your questions if there are questions. At the end of this particular chat, we would answer your questions. Okay, so with me is Bob. Bob is our business lead and also the CEO of Techshelta. And my name is Paul Kwabena-Siedu, the technical lead. So Bob, this is supposed to be a fireside chat.
All right, let's go.
Are you feeling the heat?
I'm feeling the heat.
I'm not so sure what I feel.
I'm feeling the heat. It's so hot in here.
Okay.
It's so hot in here.
So thinking about hot and all that, this whole greenhouse effect stuff, let's just discuss that. So you know, the earth, by natural processes, we have the sun releasing some energy coming through to the ground.
That's right.
It hits the surface of the earth.
That's right.
Part of that is reflected back into space.
Yeah.
Now, because of our own human operations and practices, some gases are generated.
Exactly.
Now, these gases form a kind of canopy or cover that traps some of this heat, thereby inducing an increment of temperatures around the Earth's surface. So that whole process is what we call the greenhouse effect. So I'm asking.
Clearly, you've hit it right on the nail. So the greenhouse effect is what is simulated in the greenhouse farming technology, whereby the covering in this greenhouse structure is trapping heat, creating a certain atmosphere necessary for growth of certain crops in certain times of the year, in certain conditions on the Earth's surface.
On the Earth's surface.
So you realize that in the temperate zone where some crops cannot be grown in certain times of the year, you must be able to create a condition, and the condition is borrowed or premised on the greenhouse effect. And that's why the name greenhouse farming or greenhouse technology in farming. Right.
So some of you who were wondering that this greenhouse thing, I've seen the structures, they are not green, they are all looking whitish. Please, we beg. It is greenhouse effect we are trying to induce within the greenhouse structure. Yes. This is a form of protected agriculture.
Exactly.
Why should some of us in the tropics want to even use stuff like this?
Exactly. The point is, if you're trapping heat and you're creating some form of tropical zone for growing crops, why would you do the same thing in the tropics?
Yeah.
So the main concern here is that we are not just growing crops because of temperature variations, but we are growing crops to achieve other things.
Excellent.
The key point here is pests and diseases.
Managing pests and diseases.
Pests and diseases is the major hindrance or risk factor when it comes to open field farming.
Excellent.
I mean, you could grow crops today and tomorrow you come back and a swarm of insects would consume your hard effort and your hard labor, sending all your resources down the drain.
Down the drain.
So the whole idea about greenhouse farming is not to totally eliminate pests and diseases, but to control it to the barest minimum.
Excellent.
So that whatever is remaining, you can actually either prevent or control it with proper management or cultural practices. Now, doing this gives us ample, or what we call a very reduced pesticide level in our crops. We may be mentioning a few crops we grow in greenhouses, like the vegetables,
mostly
setting seedlings and seeds.
Even tree crops.
Setting tree crops where we grow and nurse. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you hear us mentioning vegetables, don't think or don't let us misinform you that we only grow vegetables using the greenhouse structure.
Because in Kenya you do a lot of flowers, and even we have tried flowers before.
Flowers is a big industry when it comes to greenhouse farm, because again, these orchids and some of these flowers can be protected better in the greenhouse and given proper fertigation.
But can we talk about this thing again?
Yes.
You see, when you look at the greenhouse, some people think it's an ATM, right? It's an automated teller machine. You just drop it and it produces money. But I think that there are pain points in all these things.
Yes, people have given wild promises. People have been given promises beyond what they can even do. And the promise of the early rewards in revenues and turnover has escalated to the point that sometimes the interest has risen very high. Looking at government interests and policies geared towards greenhouse farming as well, there's a great interest and drive.
But there are real pains.
But there are real pain points, and that's what we touched upon. The pests and diseases in the tropics, greenhouses give some amount of control there.
Protection there.
However, without the right knowledge and skill in controlling this, remember we said best protocols and management practices is the panacea, or how you're able to, dial down some of these things. So a pain point, like you said, pest and disease is one. Even the greenhouse structure and its costs.
And it's sighting. So there's cost. Come to talk about the cost. Some people, the structure could be made out of bamboo, it could be made out of wood and any other stuff. But in order to see your investment, which is capital intensive, make some reasonable money for you, at least break even and still have your structure, we are more akin to use what you call the metal galvanized steel stuff. Now, the unit cost for bringing some of those into the country, because we don't locally fabricate them, even though there are attempts to fabricate. Remember, not everything is fabricated. So the initial cost of buying the structure, the right structure, is a major concern.
Exactly.
Water source at the site where you'll be siting the stuff is another thing. If you don't have it open and you're not sure about the EC and even the source, okay, this is Ghana, so I won't say our problems here, but let's go ahead. So if you don't check all that, initially that's where the cost is. The source of water, the structure, siting and land preparation, the kind of growing media you're going to use, the quality of it, the growing trough or the media or the buckets, the drip irrigation systems. So these all comprise the initial cost.
Yes.
But Bob, after all these and your training and everything, do people just wake up and grow anything? What has the market got to do with it?
Typically, just like any business, you have to do a proper research to understand your target market, to be able to know what products or services you're providing.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, when it comes to farming, because agribusiness is late in the conversation, understanding first your target market and then growing the crops to meet the target market for the right price all year round. The challenge, like every other farmer faces, is getting his returns, in the optimum. So the real cut is, where do greenhouse farmers sell their produce? So if you're going to go into yam vines, if you're going to go into vegetables, if you're going to go into seedlings or doing suckers, you must be able to understand which market you're serving way before you even go into.
So that means market is a major pain point.
I mean, in agriculture, land, capital, market, resources, it cuts across. But in the greenhouse farming per se, the demand for example, with vegetables is quite high. Thereby, the challenge of marketing is not very
But
present.
yet, some greenhouse farmers don't know where to sell your stuff.
So please,
but hold it right there. Hold it right there.
As I'm feeling the warmth from the fire, let me just say that if you're having such a challenge, kindly reach out to Techshelta. Reach out to our A-market platforms. Let's have a conversation about your produce. Let's know what the market is actually begging or seeking for before we actually start production.
Okay,
so
great.
let's have that conversation.
Great. So here it is. Aside that pain point, but you see there are inefficiencies that are caused by people when they are in the greenhouse space. So many people say, oh, I started my greenhouse, I put a guy there, every Saturday he goes for funeral, every day he goes for there. So at that time my crop fails and all that. This is a pain point. Do we have a solution to that?
I mean, the issue of pain points in regards to the worker starts from what the worker knows.
Yes.
Who trained that worker?
Good knowledge.
Did he come in there with an open field farming approach? What protocols is that worker following?
Excellent.
You, the owner, and the worker must come to a place whereby you're running proper greenhouse protocols and regimes.
Excellent.
Now, when this worker now comes to work, the issue about availability,
yes,
the issue about if the worker is not around, will my crop suffer or not? Means that we must find a way to automate some of the processes.
Okay,
and
good.
That's where Techshelta comes with its automation to be able to automate things like what?
Your irrigation, temperature controls, and many more.
And many more.
And many more. All right, so that's good. So Techshelta also, in order to enable your farm aid or farm hand to operate or optimize, you can also connect with us through our Techshelta Farmer app. That's the Green Genie Farmer app, to connect with agronomists who would support you and give you direct, instant answers to problems you face on the farm.
Yes. So the apps are, as you can see on my phone here, so we have Techshelta apps.
Excellent.
And you can request for conversation, you can be able to order, and we'll be make these things available to the market for you to have a look at the applications we use with regards to our vocation.
Great. So, Bob, now that we know all our pains and everything, why is greenhouse so rewarding?
First of all, like we said,
is it really rewarding?
I'm sure seeing young people like us who have taken our attention and energies into this space to, if it was not rewarding, trust you me, I'll be the first to jump out and find myself in
somewhere
in the nearest ship to Honolulu.
What?
Honolulu. So it's very rewarding so far as you meet the requirements.
Excellent.
Paul said siting, location, where you place the greenhouse. Is it close to the sea, far away from the sea? Is the place very humid? Is it very temperate? Where is the location of your farm? Is there adequate water all year round? Is the water tested? Is your growing media right? Is the temperature and humidity in the room right? Do you have a good pH and EC checks on the regular basis? Are your inputs certified? Are you using wholesome inputs, not infested or polluted inputs or GMO
expired
infested,
and all that,
inputs? Are you using the right, input regards to fertilizer application and pesticide control? Pesticide application as well. Are you looking at all these things? Your market's right. Now, if you get all these things right, we can adequately say that greenhouse farming is very rewarding. Okay,
so per square area, if you look at what we have against the open field, you realize that within the greenhouse, if somebody is doing in the open field approximately 4 kilos per square area,
speaking vegetables here,
like tomatoes and stuff, in the greenhouse you can achieve, through the cycle, in the greenhouse you can achieve between 12 to actually 20 kg.
Precisely.
And if you look at that, it's a doubling effect.
Doubling effect. In the greenhouse, we take advantage of vertical farming. We grow both horizontally and vertically.
Excellent.
So what somebody will need a big span of land to grow, you're actually growing in this small space, which means that you can actually do urban farming. You can grow in the urban communities.
Good.
On rooftops. You can grow behind your
What
backyard.
are you saying, Bob? No, hold on. So you mean that greenhouse farm, you don't necessarily need to go out of the city?
No.
So you can actually have a farm within your city.
You are reducing or getting close, nearness to market, which means that just as you're driving out to go and buy something by the roadside, you can actually create a sale just en route.
Wow.
Therefore, you're not having to be in the hinterland driving 2-4 hours to go to somewhere in the, very far away to grow. You can actually grow in the urban communities. At the same time, you can grow in the forest and in the farming communities as well.
Wonderful. So that means that this green revolution stuff, we can actually bring a lot of greeneries back to the city with the greenhouse farms, and people can actually get their produce closer to them. From farm to the table is a shorter distance.
It's a shorter distance. If you're watching us and you belong to any school or you're proprietor of a school, let's have a conversation. Let's see how we can inculcate greenhouses back into our schools as a very friendly environment where kids, young and old, can demo farming. You heard of a story whereby a child was asked, where is lettuce grown? And the child said, in the supermarket. Because as far as the child knows, he sees crops grown in the supermarket.
He only sees that in the supermarket.
Wow. So we need to find a way to, inculcate home gardening, porch gardening, things like that back with our kids and with our adults. And our teaching and training series, our monthly teaching and training series, like you mentioned, seeks to to guide us and help us with this DIY way of growing crops at home and on your farm as well.
Good. So greenhouses helps you de-risk the whole process of growing crops.
Right.
Actually, you can measure your input against your output and be sure that you get certain critical metrics met.
That's right.
So it's a good thing to come into farming. And aside that, greenhouse makes it more like, swag. There's this new swag about young guys putting on their ties and going into the farm. Can you imagine? But that would not be normal when you go to the open field. So here we are. Greenhouse also makes agriculture a little more attractive to young people. But remember, our farmers they're aging, they're all aging. That particular population of farmers we have down here, I don't know about out there, but most of them are aging. So as we introduce the greenhouse, we've observed that young people are more interested in this method of growing. So it is better for us to make sure this drive goes on as quickly as possible, so that by the time this farming generation is going off, we'll have younger people with the interest in farming.
And mentioning that brings my attention to our training school. Aside the online training we'll be doing, we have a residential training that we provide on our farm. And you realize the people who have shown interest cuts across, industries, cuts across different academic backgrounds. We've had people who have done architecture, people who have done farm lab.
Engineers, physicists
all come through. The most important ingredient is the passion and the drive to know and to grow. So, graduates, people with master's degrees are all coming back into this space and bringing the knowledge you've acquired to make it more efficient and more exciting.
Thank you so much. So we are still expecting your questions. Kindly populate your questions. We'll be answering them. So Bob, it's been a nice one going through. I still don't feel the heat from the fire.
The fire is really warm.
Are you feeling it?
I think those who are watching us are feeling the heat in the house.
But did you prepare some barbecue for us to try out?
I think I have to put my fork into this fireplace and bring out
Anyway, that's just by the way. Okay, so thank you again for getting us on this particular engagement. Just note that you can post your questions on the chat side, and we're going to be discussing that. We'll also open up and begin to talk. For those of you who are live with us right now, we're going to be conversing a little more with your questions. Now, Bob, before we round off, tell us something. There are a lot of people who are here and asking, how do I start? How do I start? Where do I go from here? They've said it already, so what do I do next? What would you advise? Something small.
The first thing I would say is
don't tell them everything, right?
Okay, I hear you.
Be part of our training series, so don't tell them everything. Yeah?
The first thing I would say is that kindly reach out to Techshelta.
Excellent.
admin@techshelta.com is our email address, or go to our website, www.techshelta.com.
Correct.
Hit us up on all our social media platforms, and let's start the conversation. From here, we're also migrating everybody to the Google Classroom.
Yeah, for those who want to join the classroom.
So those who want to sign up for our training and teaching series, we would
move you
to the Google Classrooms, and there would have more interactions.
Excellent.
There'll be articles, there'll be conversations, there'll be videos.
Excellent.
All your questions can be posted. Anything that hits your mind, you can bring it. Come for a business session with us, and let's plan the A to Z of greenhouse farming or open field farming, wherever you want to see it. Porch gardening, sack farming, window dress farming, tabletop farming, every form of growing crops, healthy, wholesome crops in your home. The training starts here online, and we're excited about it.
That's good, Bob. Thank you very much. Take note, in these sessions, we would have in guest speakers and others who are coming through to also give you further insights so that you are well equipped to do the right thing right wherever you are.
I can't wait for the beekeeping in greenhouse and the snail farming in greenhouse.
Bob, hold on. Don't get them too excited. Let them start from A to B. Then we'll look at the C to D. All right, guys, thank you. Again, good evening.
Good morning.
Good morning. And
wherever you are in
good
the world.
night. Wherever you are. Good morning. Thank you so much for making time. We are grateful for connecting. So please, we'll answer your questions and we'll get back.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. It's been great having all of you listening to us. Remember, this was a clear fire chat. If you have specific questions beyond the questions you asked already, kindly push it through by email or join us on our Google Classroom. We would actually connect you. Or you can go on our Facebook page, Twitter page, Instagram page, post your question, and our team would be willing to answer your questions and help you out in whatever way we can. If we cannot help you directly, We'll connect you to where the answers are. Thank you so much for making time.